Hello there. As you can see, I'm still in split. I finished playing round 2, so let me show you the game. Before I begin talking about game, just a few comments. So the air condition still doesn't work in the hall, so it's very hot. It's very difficult to play, and I'm facing here one again very strong opponent, much stronger than me. And this guy had 0 points on round 2 because he didn't play round 1. So it was like the last time in split I got paired with a woman international master because she didn't play the first round, so she had 0 points as me. And also there is one interesting detail here. If you can see the title of this player is AIM. This means Arena International Master. So this is the title which you get if you register on FIDE online server. They call it FIDE Arena. And it says here that Arena International Master is achieved by a series of 150 bullet games, 100 blitz games, or 50 rapid games with a performance rating over 1700. So, okay, the guy is obviously playing online a lot. He registered for FIDE online arena, and he got this Arena International Master title, which is the first time I see the title, and it's written actually in the listings of the players. Okay, that being said, let's go to the game. So I was white here, and you'll see the game. It has one very interesting point regarding the activity of the rooks, which I didn't understand, and hopefully I understand now after analyzing this game. So I think it will be instructive for you to see as well. So I opened the game with e4, he played c6, now we are in the Caro-Kann, it's okay. So d4, just grabbing the center, d5, I always play exchange variation, so he takes d5, c takes d5, and now bishop d3 is the thematic move, stopping him from developing the bishop on f5. He played knight c6, hitting my pawn, I just defend the pawn with c3. Knight f3, continuing the development, and now there are several possibilities. I prefer here to play h3, so stopping any prospect of developing this bishop, and also now my knight can come to f3 without any fear of being pinned, and it's a useful move, and as white you can afford such moves. It's not very active, but you can afford it. And now we played g6. G6 is a very interesting variant in Caro-Kann, which not many players play, but okay, it's playable. It makes sense, I guess. This bishop will be active here, and so forth. So now I decided to develop my bishop on f4. So this is very nice square for the bishop, and also I already have the ideas of exchanging this fianchetto bishop. So he did fianchetto his bishop, and I played queen to d2. So my idea was to, if he castles, I can exchange this fianchetto bishop. The engine doesn't like this idea for some reason. I don't really understand why, because this bishop is very active bishop, because this bishop would be passive, or it wouldn't be worth exchanging if there was his pawn on e5. So if the black pawn was fixed on e5, then you don't want to exchange fianchetto bishop, because this bishop is not good. But since my pawn is here on d4, and he can play break e5 somewhere in the future, and this break could be supported by this bishop, my logic was that I want to get rid of this bishop. So yeah, the engine didn't like the idea, but okay. My opponent also didn't like the idea of giving up this bishop, so this is why he played h5 here. Now you can see that h6 is covered twice, so I cannot just come here. In case he castles, I can still do this, but yeah, for now this is like it is. And as you will see in this game, neither of us will castle. Our kings will remain in the center, so it's very untypical game, as you will see. So I need to continue my development now, and yeah, I can develop this knight here or here, but I'm already thinking that maybe this square would be a problem, so maybe I want to play f3 at some point. I'm not sure whether the knight should come to e2 or f3. So when I'm not sure, then I look at some other pieces which I'm sure where they want to go. So this knight can only be developed here and then here, because the queen on d2 is blocking the square and also the c3. So both of these are blocked. So it's only logical that this knight has to go to a3. So I did play this. He played a6, so he's preventing my knight to go forward. Okay, I'm just putting the knight on c2. now the knight is developed. He played bishop to f5, and this is the variation, the idea I saw many times. So, you know, trying to get rid of my strong bishop and giving up the pawn structure. He will probably, yeah, maybe he can even castle short if he wants, but yeah, even if there is no g pawn, he still has the bishop on g file, so it protects the king, and also these two pawns will give him a very strong outpost here on e4. So this is common idea, but I don't have anything better but to take. So I take, he took, and now, you know, this is very strong outpost, and I have to violate Grandmaster Ben Feingold's rule and play f3 here. It doesn't really matter because, yeah, the kings are in the center. I can castle both ways. If I want, I can even put the king, you know, I can castle by hand. Yeah, it does. This pawn structure looks a little bit strange, but I have a dark square bishop, so everything is covered. And most importantly, he now cannot jump to e4, and also this square is taken forever. So here he played e6. Now he has also this very strong pawn structure. And now I continue my development, so my knight now has only one square to go, and it goes to e2. And now he played b5, so he's looking for some kind of minority attack. The idea of minority attack is to get backward pawn on the c file. So this is the whole idea. He has this idea as well, knight to a5, as you will see, and if he manages to push, we exchange here, then this is a weak pawn. If he plays knight to a5 and I play b3, you know, just taking away this c4 square, then again this pawn will be backward pawn and so forth. So these are the ideas of minority attack, and he goes for it. Okay, now I'm thinking what to do with my pieces. So I'm not in a hurry to castle. This knight looked a little bit awkward, so I wanted to do something about my knights. And immediately when he played this b5, I saw a hole he created, and this is the hole. So the hole is this very nice c5 square, which can be a good outpost for my knight. So I was thinking about this knight coming here to this square. Okay, so the route is would be the route will be this. So this is my idea, activating the knight. So I did play knight to c1. He played knight to a5 with the idea creating the backward pawn, or to get on the outpost himself. And once he gets here, it comes with the tempo. So I could allow him to jump to c4 and then later play b3, but yeah, it comes with the tempo, it's annoying and so forth. So I played b3, and yeah, danger says it's the best move. And now he played a knight to d7, which I thought his plan was to come to b6, and then, okay, in the future when I play b4, he can jump on c4, and if I take one knight, he can replace it with another knight. So this is one idea I thought he is having, but he definitely is now controlling c5. So my plan of just, you know, taking this outpost doesn't work so well unless I play b5. But if I play b5, then he can, you know, take this square himself. Something along these lines, yeah. So for example, b5, he jumps here, I have to move the queen, and then he place the knight here, and then this knight is here forever. It will only be replaced by another knight if I take it with my knight. Okay, but I did play knight to d3 anyway, you know, controlling these squares, and now my knight is active, you know. So okay, I'm just activating my pieces. It's a slow position. I have to build the position, and at this moment the engine evaluates like plus 1.2. So white is better here. So yeah, my pieces are a little bit more active, his pieces are not so coordinated, my pieces are better coordinated, so I guess this is the advantage. He played rook to c8, okay, logical, so he's taking the semi-open file and also eyeing this backward pawn. So this is the permanent weakness in the position. After I played b3, which I had to play, I now have c3, backward pawn, permanent weakness, and he will play on this weakness. Now the queen is covering it, maybe the rook can cover it if need be, maybe even the knight, and so forth. So here I was thinking about my pieces again. So I'm not in a hurry to castle. We didn't castle, and it's fine. So I was thinking about this knight to c2. Can I move it a little bit forward? Can I do something about this knight? And also I was considering this b4 move, but then the knight is coming here. So I played knight to e3. So I'm improving the knight. The knight goes up a little bit, but also I'm controlling this c4 square. And now he played a queen to b6, and I found this move awkward. I didn't expect it, because, like I said, I expected him to play to have the knight on b6. So I would imagine something like knight to b6, you know, and then in the future, let's say I play something random. No, not random, but let's say I play b4, and now he can jump, and if I take, he can take, and this knight is here forever. I mean, not forever. I can again exchange it, but it's a very strong knight. So this is what I was thinking he will do. But then he played queen to b6, and now he took away the square for his knight. So okay, now I played b4, thinking okay, he will come here, and it's okay. So he came here to c5, and I took the knight. And now I was thinking that he will take with either this pawn or this pawn, and then once he takes, let's say, with this pawn, this is no longer a backward pawn, because now the rook cannot attack it, and I thought it was a fine move. So I was thinking he'll take either here or here, and it will be fine. And he was thinking a lot about on this position. He spent quite some time, and then he played a move I didn't even consider. So he played rook takes c4, and I was like, oh, first of all, how did I miss this? Why didn't I consider it? I don't know. I just didn't. It just looked so awkward, you know, to have the rook surrounded by my pawns. And I didn't understand that this rook is a great piece here. So first of all, it's great because it's not easy to attack it, to harass it. I mean, I can play something like knight to b2, but you know, this knight doesn't do here anything, because he has this squares covered, and I don't have a light square bishop. So there is no way I can remove this rook, and this rook is exerting the pressure on the weak c3 pawn. And this is in fact active rook. I didn't realize this, although I know the definition. So the definition of active rook is rook which attacks something, and passive rook is the rook which defends something. So this rook is attacking potentially weak pawn. It's only defended by the queen, and the queen is bad defender, as you know. So this is active rook. And I didn't understand this. I was thinking, yeah, well, I can jump with the knight here, and this rook is completely surrounded. But so what? So imagine the knight on c5. Okay, this rook is surrounded, but so what? I cannot attack this rook, because I don't have a light square bishop, and I don't have another knight to be able to attack. So if I use this knight to close up the rook, this rook is unassailable. So this is the biggest lesson from this game, and as you will see, eventually this will decide the game. This rook and this pawn will be something which will give him the victory in this game. And I didn't even realize how strong this rook was. Okay, maybe I will learn. So now I was thinking about completing my development, you know, connecting the rooks. And castling here short is out of the question, because my king will be x-rayed by the queen. This is probably why he played this in the first place, and then suddenly this pawn is pinned, and he could play e5 here, because this pawn will be pinned. So I cannot do this. So I cannot put the king here, so I just put the king up. So king e2, and now my rooks are connected, and this rook could come to the queen side if need be, and so forth. Now here he played f6, so he wants to burst in the center. So my king is in the center. He wants to open some diagonals and so forth, so he wants to play this move. And now I played some interesting moves. So first I played rook h to e1. All these moves are considered best by the engines, so I'm happy. So if by playing rook here, now if he plays this pawn to e5, I can just slide with my king on f1, and his pawn will be pinned, and he'll have some troubles here. So he cannot now this basically stops e5. So he has to move his king in order to avoid this pin. So he played king to f7, and now I played king to f1, opening this rook. And now again he cannot play e5 so easily, because now I have the rook and the pawn and the bishop and the knight. Everything is controlling e5. And now he played queen to c6. As you can see, he's now eyeing my c3 pawn. And here I thought, okay, I want to get this rook isolated. I don't want this rook to have any help by his other heavy pieces, because he can put the next heavy piece here, and then I have some serious troubles. So without much thinking, I played just knight to c5. So now I'm cutting the communication between the rook, his rook on c4, and any other heavy pieces on the c file. He took this knight, and I took with the b pawn. And now again, I didn't realize that this rook was strong. Now especially I was thinking, okay, this rook is out of play. It's, you know, it's almost like I'm rook up. This is how I was thinking, because this rook cannot do anything. I mean, this rook can jump, can go here, and this is the only square the rook has. But actually, this is very active rook because it attacks my pawn. And now this rook cannot be removed. So there is no way I can attack this rook. I can only attack this rook with my rook, and this is what I should have done. So if I realized here that this rook was a strong rook, I would consider rook b1 and rook b4 to get rid of this strong rook in my half of the board. But I didn't realize this, and I was thinking that well, this is just rook cannot go anything. It's trapped. It's completely killed. So you know what's there to worry. And this is the main mistake. This cost me the game. This lack of understanding of how good this rook was. Okay, so he played rook to e8, so he still wants to push this pawn. And now I played rook to e2. I want to double the rooks here, and again stop this e4 and or make e4 less effective. E5, sorry. So he did play e5 here, and again, now he's attacking my pawn, and you'll see that, well, if this pawn falls, if I don't do anything, then this pawn also falls. So this structure is very important to me. I don't want it to be break down, and also I don't want to shut down this bishop. And here I find the cute move. This is rook a to e1, and now again he cannot you know, move this pawn because it's pinned. So if he, for example, takes, I can just take the rook. If he takes with the queen, I take, he takes, and now I have a queen against bishop and rook, and this is winning. So yeah, rook, this move, sorry. So after e5, this move basically pins this pawn, and he decides to push this pawn. And the agent doesn't like this move very much, but I can see the point. So I have one pass pawn, potential pass pawn, which can be dangerous. And now here we have one as well. So he has a counter play. You know, for my pass pawn, he will have pass pawn on his own. Okay, now again, several possibilities. I wanted to keep my my bishop more active, so I played this bishop to d6 here. It's annoying bishop, you know, deep in his territory, and also I'm protecting now this pawn, so I don't have to worry, you know, in case this pawn gets compromised, which now it's not possible because he already pushed the pawn. But okay, the pawn and the bishop are mutually protected, and this is a nice square for the bishop. He played queen to d7 here, wanting to protect this pawn, I guess, because now you can see he has two undefended pawns. So I did have some ideas, you know, of playing maybe queen to f4, then maybe queen to h4, you know, attacking these two hanging pawns. So he's just fortifying his position. And here I made a mistake. So up till now I have like a plus 1.5. So the engine thinks the white is better, like a pawn and a half better. But yeah, I didn't realize one simple fact. So I saw this bishop, and I told to myself, you know, this is very poor bishop. It just looks at his pawn, so the only diagonal it can be activated is here. So if he pushes, for example, his king here, his bishop here, you know, he can do some damage. So I played f4, thinking that now I'm shutting down this bishop. So now these two pawns are blocked, and this diagonal also doesn't work. I can very easily support this pawn. And I didn't realize that, yeah, this is a bad bishop, this is excellent bishop, but it's very easy for him to exchange bishops. I didn't think, I just didn't think deep enough. The best move here was now to realize that this rook is finally something I want to get rid of, and to play rook to b1 and then go with rook to b4, you know, trying to get rid of this rook. And then if you imagine, I can take with the pawn, and then I have, you know, connected pass pawn, which is a very good asset to have in the end game. Okay, I didn't see this. I played f4, and of course he realized that his bishop is very poor, so he just played the bishop to f8, and now we exchange bishops. Okay, and now he has a passed pawn. I have a passed pawn. Also, this pawn is protected only by the queen. Again, I didn't realize this, that I have to do this maneuver, so I just played rook to e3, and now this pawn is protected, and I can move this this queen somewhere. So I was thinking to put the queen on this diagonal, and maybe attack h5 or try to do some counterplay here on the king side. So I can do either, try to break on the king side. I was thinking about g4 at some point or something. So to break on the king side, and maybe to put the rook and attack from here with the rook and with the help of the queen, something like this. This is what I was thinking. And yeah, but still this rook is something I completely forgot. Okay, so in this position, after rook to e3, he played king to e6. So now he wants to be ready to protect these pawns, and maybe he wants to break on the king side as well. And also his king is very safe here. He doesn't have to fear any checks and so on. I played queen to d1, and I thought this was a very good move at the moment, because you can see this queen on d1 now suddenly plays on the both sides of the board. So it attacks h5, but also I had some ideas about maybe breaking, somehow getting to the a5 square and deliver check here, or breaking with the queen somehow on the queen side, and do some damage there. So I had this idea at one, and also I'm attacking this pawn. So I thought that this move was very good, but I didn't see his ideas, and that he can exchange queens very easily. So he played queen to h7, protecting the pawn. I played h4, thinking, okay, now I'm fixing this weakness. So this pawn will now be weak forever. Can make pressure forever, and yeah, this backward pawn can very easily be protected. If I play g3 and king to f2, then this pawn is protected forever. This is what I was thinking. He played queen to g6, attacking this pawn. So I was thinking, okay, he wants to break on the g file. He wants to double here and attack this pawn. So I just played king to f2. So in case he puts the rook here, I can just push the pawn on g3, and the pawn is protected by the rook and by the king. But I didn't see his real intention. His real intention was to get rid of the queens, because once the queens are gone, then all my plans, on the king side and on the queen side with the queen are just gone, because there is no pressure on h5 no more. And, yeah. So I didn't see his real intention, and in this moment he played queen to g4, and now I have to exchange queens, because you can see that my pawn is attacked. In fact, both of my pawns are attacked here, and the queen. So I don't have much choice here. So I had to take, and now we exchange queens. And at this moment, I really thought this was a draw. I thought, okay, this rook is paralyzed; it cannot do anything. Everything is blocked. Our pawns. The position is blocked. This pawn is blocked. Our kings are separated by the wall of pawns. So I thought, yeah, this is equal. This is like a draw. And the engine says minus 1.5. So black is better, because black is better. Why? Because he has the active rook here, and he can push these pawns, supported by this rook, supported by the king, and just this rook is a killer. Okay, but I thought that the game was equal, and that it was a draw, so I offered the draw. At this moment, this was the round I played in the morning, and I had another round in the afternoon, so I didn't want to waste my energy. If it is a draw, if he accepts the draw, he's a stronger player. Okay, I'm happy with the draw. So yeah, I thought it was equal. I offered the draw, and he declined. End of story. So he took with the f pawn, and I played the g3. So I thought, okay, everything is locked up, and now he played f5. So it really looks okay. This is locked up. This pawn yeah, it's a passed pawn, but it's blocked currently with the rook, and I can easily block it with the king. I have the passed pawn, which can easily be blocked with the king. So I thought it was equal, but I forgot about this rook and the activity. And now here I played rook to b1, thinking about rook to b4, but it doesn't work because he played here king to d7, and now imagine that I play this rook to b4. He can just bring his other rook here. And now I cannot take, because if I take, he takes with the pawn, and now I have to worry about his rook, suddenly penetrating, and I mean, he's now controlling the early profile. He can penetrate, he can do whatever he wants. So I'm not, I cannot play this rook to b4 now. So I played rook to b3. Rook to b3 was the idea to protect this pawn in order for the other rook to be able to join the game. So now you can see how how important this rook is and this pressure. I cannot move my pieces. All the time I have to assign one of the pieces in the defense. And now we come back to the definition of the active and passive rook, and you can see this is typical definition: active rook attacking, passive rook protecting. So all the time this rook is active, and one of my rooks has to be passive. Now he played king to c6 here, blocking the pawn, and I played rook to e2, so wanting to double here. Maybe I was thinking about a4 at some moment, or something like this. A4, if he takes, he can take with the rook. This is the problem, but yeah, if he cannot, maybe he can take with the pawn. I can give a check here, or I can, after doubling, maybe rook to b4 will work, and so forth. And now he decided to start matching the pawns, so he played a5 here, and now I got a little bit panicked, and I thought that yeah, this rook now can be harassed very easily. So I thought that maybe this pawn is not protected enough. So here I made the worst decision possible, and I played rook to c2. And now, both of my rooks are passive. They are just, defending, and this is not good. So much better way to play would be, just to double the rooks, to make the rooks active, and then maybe if he goes here to b8, I mean, I can even go to a3, and at least I'm active. I'm attacking something. So yeah, he has to play b4 here. It can lead to some interesting variations. Something like this, or he can take with the rook, and I can give a check and so on. So I had to play for the activity. So this just small variant which I found is an alternative is the way to play with the rooks actively. So if you see this position, this rook is active, this rook is active. And if you compare this, so this was the variation, and if you compare with what actually happened, both of the rooks are passive. So playing for the rook's activity is the essential in the rook's endgame, and I know this, but still somehow I get passive rooks. And I mean, even if you have to give up the pawn for the activity, it's better than to just keep rooks passive, because you will surely lose with passive rooks. So he played rook to b8, and now I wanted to put my king in, and I played king to e3. Okay, now I'm blocking this pawn, and I was thinking about transferring my king to d2, defending this pawn. This was the idea. But yeah, I forgot some things. So for example, if I go to d2, he can sacrifice this pawn with the check. I have to take it, and then he can take the pawn and have the rook deeply penetrating into my position. Also, if this pawn is gone, then this pawn will be gone, and so on. So it's a bad calculation, a bad move. He played the rook to b7, so now this rook is protected, so this pawn is no longer pinned. You can see here this pawn was pinned, now it's not, so he's just burning the position. And I played this king to d2, which was a huge blunder. This loses the game, I think, immediately. So now I'm thinking, okay, great, I'm now protecting the pawn, and now I can finally, activate my rooks. But it doesn't work so well because he has b4. And now the problem is, if I take, then this pawn is falling. So this c3 pawn is essential to guarding my d4 pawn, and once I move the king, now this pawn is unprotected. So it's just terrible. So he played b4. I didn't know what else to do, so I played king to e3, and now he played a4. So he's completely, you know, crushing me now. And also you can see that, yeah, one of the reasons I played the king here was not only to support this pawn, but also to guard this rook, because here this pawn is pinned, because this rook is unprotected. This is also one of the reasons why this move was so bad. It would be much better to be on the b2 square. So I thought that, okay, this is protected, so if he plays here, I can take. But I forgot that then this pawn was protected. So terrible. b4, okay, and now I came back. He now kicks me away. And I mean, what else to do? I have to put my rooks here. At least now my rooks are coordinated. They protect each other. This pawn is no longer pinned, but now this pawn is just falling. So b takes c3. I took the rook. He took back. I mean, it's lost now. And now what to do? I mean, everything is lost here. And there was a guy. You know, we play like there is on one table there are two boards. And the guy who played on the board next to me, he was playing his game, and he was watching at my position. And this is the guy I played against in Sholta. He's a nice gentleman. We discussed our game later on and so on. So he was watching, and after the game was, I mean, a few minutes after this, the game was over, and he was during his game. So he was playing the game, and he started to explain me and to put pieces on the board and telling me, you know, you should have played this. Why did you give up this game? And then the arbiter came like, shh. So it's interesting how this guy was watching my game all the time and was very angry when I lost the game, although he played his game. Okay, this is what happens with the tournaments. So his suggestion, he told me that I should play a3 here, and then this rook is completely dead. Which is true, but the problem is that I'm out of the moves, so it's a zugzwang. So this is true. Now his rook cannot go anywhere, but he only needs to make a move. You know, he needs to move his king anywhere. Let's say rook c7, and now it's my move, and it's a zugzwang. If I could pass the move, it would be great, but I have to move something. So if I move the king, it just takes the pawn. If I move the rook, he just pushes the pawn. So yeah, the guy was playing his game and watching my game, and yeah, this a3 looks strong, but it's not good. Especially you can see that these two pawns are creating this wall for my king, so I cannot attack this pawn with the king. So it's just hopeless. So here in this position, I played. I didn't want to move my king, so I played rook to c1. He pushed the pawn, and now I came with my king here. He took me to check. I played here. He played check. I moved. We exchanged rooks, and now he played king to c6. And now this pawn will fall, and he has to pass pawns. So it's over. I resigned the game here, and yeah. And this is it. It was very instructive for me, you know, when I understood that how I underestimated this strong active rook. So I will have to think deeply about this game and try to apply the lessons I have learned in the future. Because this is not the first game I lost because I happen to have passive rooks against active rooks. It happens to me very often, and every time I think I understand the concept of active and passive rooks, and then the games prove me wrong. I don't actually understand this very well, so I have to think about this deeper. Thank you very much for watching, for sticking with me. I know this video was a longer video because there are some moments I really wanted to emphasize. I hope that you will also learn from my mistakes, so that you don't have to do them yourself. You can learn from my mistakes, and yeah, this is it. See you in the next round very soon. Cheers.